Has a race to go watch. It's the last day, last race of the season for NASCAR, and he's got to get home and catch part of that. Who you rooting for, Don?
I have Keselowski today.
All right, today he says. Sounds like he's a betting man.
We have a pool.
Oh, you got a pool. Okay. All right. Hey, Don Senior, pick that microphone up if you would, sir. Before we get moving on, we were talking about Donnie's foray into NASCAR. What were your thoughts at that time about him getting involved there?
I was supportive of him. In fact, I had encouraged him to do it. It's just a shame he couldn't stay at it. You know, I'm sure he'd have made it in time, but like you said, it takes a lot of money, you know.
Yeah, and Don was talking about the purses not paying a whole lot at that level at that point. Jack Cromer brought up a good point. He said he's got to wonder if the purses had been better, how the face of NASCAR would have changed over the years of the different drivers that may have stuck around. So, interesting. Lynn Paxton wanted me to mention, gentlemen, that you will indeed, this is a paying gig, and you will get paid with Eastern Museum of Motor Racing caps. And Donny Kreitz Jr., I understand you have a hat collection, so you will add that to your collection, sir.
Sounds good. Thanks, Lynn.
All right, so we left off right around 1989 with your career, Donnie, and 1990. It's I guess let's call that another turning point in your career. 15 wins, which is a solid season. I don't care where you are. In your first Williams Grove Speedway title.
Yeah. Again, Davey started helping us out there at the end of '89, and that really helped us at Williams Grove, you know. And so then in '90, we were lucky enough to get the track championship there. We just had a good solid year.
And then you followed that up with another solid year. 91 was 19 wins and your second title.
Yeah, we were rolling along pretty good there. I'm not sure when, I think probably around there's probably when Davey started doing our engines. I don't know, do you remember, Davey?
Yeah, I guess it was probably 91, 92 in that area, I'd say, yeah.
Well, 1992, and this is just where you just gaining all kinds of momentum. You're up to 22 wins for that season, 2 World of Outlaw wins at Williams Grove. You won the Selinsgrove National Open. You were Susquehanna Speedway track champion, and overall Central Pennsylvania points title was yours.
Yeah, it's funny how you remember the races you lost. So out of that season, what I remember, the 2 World of Outlaw wins, I was winning a third one by a straightaway, and the last lap, last corner, I got pinned behind the lap car, and Steve Kinzer made a really good move and passed me, or we would have had 3 wins in a row there at Williams Grove. But no, that was probably my best year. By the numbers, we ran a lot of races, and we ended up winning maybe 1 out of every 4 or something, and won a bunch of big races, and it was going really well.
So 1993, you click off your 4th consecutive Williams Grove Speedway title. You had two more World of Outlaw wins at the Grove, including the National Open. You won the Tuscarora 50, Buckeye Classic, and you even won out of Huset's on your way. I guess you were on your way to Knoxville at that point. Yeah,
actually, Davey's son helped me that year, and Davey was still doing the engines, and we were clicking really well together. He was guessing the chassis really right for the features, and we were just rolling right along, probably whatever age I was then, I don't know, 30 something, in the prime, from your 30s to your 40s or something, I'd say in your prime for racing, and it was going really well.
So I want to revisit something that we touched on earlier, but you're winning World of Outlaw events now on a regular basis. Are the guys, are the traveling teams, are they seeing you as one of their fraternity? Have you earned their respect, or how are they approaching you in the pit area?
Well, I usually keep to myself in the pit. So I mean, I'll tell you, at that time, Steve Kinzer was, that's when he was dominating, and he wouldn't wait races by a straightaway. And some of those races we were fortunate enough to beat him. When we'd run with him, Steve would always run me really, really clean. He would drive me like I drove him. He would give you plenty of room. He'd just try and beat you. He wouldn't even chop down and try and take your line away or anything. He would just stay in his line, try and beat you. Afterwards, shake your hand, and so that's how most of them guys were. And we had the home track advantage, and but things were going really well. You need a perfect night when you're going to beat them guys. You got a time trial good, then you got to transfer in the first couple spots in your heat race, and once you get through that, and if you're going to start in the first 6 spots in the feature, then then you had a chance. So we were just fortunate on them nights. We were rolling really good. The track's got in our favor in the feature, and we were able to knock some of them wins off.
So Don, you're doing a little bit of traveling at this point. You've been, out of state on numerous occasions, but for the folks that have not had the opportunity to visit some of these tracks, talk about your experience at. Let's start with Knoxville.
Knoxville's a tough track for our guys. Just like Williams Grove is a tough track for their guys. Knoxville's a tough track for our guys. First off, the dirt's different than our dirt, and when you drive it and when you set up for it, it's stickier when it's wet, and then when it's slick, it gets a different kind of slick, which should be good for me, but it really wasn't. You just it took a different setup, and it's a track that took laps on, and myself included with most of our guys. You try and go out there, and the first thing you run warm-ups, and the track's not in shape to run wide open on, or where you'd really learn anything. So then your real first laps at speed are in time trials, and that sets a tone for the whole week. So it makes it really tough. You need to go run there 3-4 times if you're going to try and run the Knoxville Nationals. When we went out there in our early part of our career, we did make it most of the time to the A main. We had 7th was our best finish at Knoxville. We started 16th that year and got 7th. But it's a tough place just to go and run. I mean, it's a nice track. It's a great facility. Anyone that's a race fan, it's something to see. You should go there. The way the whole town gets involved in the Knoxville Nationals, it's really something to see. But it was a lot of fun. I'm glad we went.
One of the other characteristics of the speedway itself, Don, I guess that might differ from around these parts, banking in the corners is what, 6-8 degrees? Not a whole lot there.
No, it's not. And when you look at an overhead view of the track, I mean, it's so much corner and very little straightaway. You're really in the corner a long time. And back then when I would go out there, most of the time the track ended up being up top. I usually always still had a small cushion, and it would be up by the wall, and that was a fast way around, and that wasn't good for me. I try and still make the bottom work, but it wasn't as fast as putting it right on the wall there. Just it was a better way. really slick right off the bat when we went there, and even though now they don't really run the wall as much as they did back in those days, you know, we were one of the first ones when we went there, got our car to work down on the bottom or in the middle of the track when pretty much the whole field was running, you know, was running on the wall. And it was good for us just because it got really slick, and it was a wide track. So, you know, that always made it fun, gave you choices to race, you know, where you could move around a little bit. So, you know, I always liked the tracks that got wide and they got slick where you could kind of run, where you could run anywhere on them.
Eldora, I guess if we can make any kind of comparison to Knoxville, it's that when things happen there, they happen quickly.
Yeah, they're both really fast tracks, and I wouldn't be up for running them, I don't think anymore, but both those tracks are really wicked fast, and you feel the speed at both those places whenever I go there. And again, you're not a regular if you don't go there all the time, because guys that'll come in to Williams Grove, they're like, my God, those straightaways are so long, it just feels like you're really moving on the straightaways, and you are, but when you race there weekly, I guess you get used to it. Well, these other tracks like Eldora and Knoxville, when you go to them, it takes you a while to get used to the speed and to adapt, and then especially when they get slick, because you still have to lift at least a little bit, and you're used to running wide open around them when you go there. So they're both what I would call knack tracks. It takes a knack to get a run well there, and it just takes laps.
So from one extreme to the other, now let's talk about Huset's, which I believe now is Badlands Motor Speedway.
Yeah, we ran well there. We stayed out one time when we were running Knoxville, and they used to run the next day, right after the Knoxville Nationals. They'd run on Sunday night, and then at that year we went out there and they had an outlaw show on a Tuesday, so we could run Knoxville, and then we ran a Sunday night show there, and then the Outlaws were actually at Huset's on a Tuesday. So we stayed out for those couple days and ran there one time. It's a fun track. I'd call it, you know, kind of banked like Grandview for our tracks, and dark dirt like that. Wide, you know, wide corners, maybe a little bit narrow on the straightaways. Banked pretty good, and it was another track where most of the guys there ran, you know, up along the wall, and we did get a win there, you know, running on the bottom, and then we ran top five, maybe third in that outlaw show there. But it was fun. It's fun to go to different tracks, you know, because you go there and you don't really know what you're doing. I mean, it's just a guess. It's fun to learn. Not as much the driving's the easiest part. You know, it's figuring the car out and trying to guess what the track's going to do because you were never there before. But it's a lot of fun going to different tracks.
And refresh my memory, Huset's at that point, was that third mile, 3/8? You recall what that was? Fairly small.
I'd call it in there, yeah. I'd say, I think it was bigger than Grandview, but not much, you know, not as big as Susquehanna. So I think it's in that range there of a third to 3/8. I'm not sure what they go by.
It was, my recollections are, it was pretty tight racing, and for those of you who have not had the chance to visit, it's one of these speedways that's sort of built down. You sit on the side of a hill, the grandstands, and there's also some grass area where you can sit off to the side and you're looking down the speedway. So it's a good view there. Davey, we're going to get you to jump back in. You're no stranger to success at Knoxville or Eldora.
Yeah, well, we were lucky enough to win Knoxville twice, and we won third the next year when I got a wreck in the heat race and we had to go through the B main, and started like 19th and got third. That's as far as we're going to go. So
You were Doug at this point?
with Doug, yeah, I never had that much success outside of that with Doug, which, you he started racing there, so he knew that track, you know. So that was his home track basically, so he's the one that made a big difference there, and nobody was better than him at that racetrack. And we won some races outdoor. We won the 50,000 one year, and then next year we were leading, and somebody lost a bumper, and we run over it and had a flat tire, and somebody else did. And Donny, that's the year Donny won. He was running third, I think, right?
Yeah.
And that year he won, and so he won. So that was the year when they used to pay you off in cash. And Earl Baldus was kind of funny, and Doug, he counted every penny, so Earl held off $100. So we were there, he was there waiting on him. This was like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and he kept going over. And each time he'd come up $100 short. So Doug kept counting it. Finally, Earl said, "Here's $100." And he was so bad. That was Earl. He liked to play jokes on people, you know, and you know, you're hauling home $50,000 in cash. That's a good bit of money, particularly back in the '80s.
Yeah.
It'd be like 100,000 now or more, I guess. So Donny ran good there. You know, it's a hard track to win in, period. Particularly you don't run there. And that's another track that Doug run a lot of times. So he knew the track, and he was a smooth driver like Donny, and it's what it takes to win there. Steve Kidger was more a guy who would bounce off the walls, bang off the walls. And he won a lot of races there too, but they were two different drivers. But that type of racetrack was Doug Wolfgang's best track. He never liked Williams Grove. He won races there, but he never liked it because of the long straightaways and sharp, you know, slow corners. But we won some races. But yeah, I like Eldor, and you know, it's you know, you see it as sort of intimidating. His bank's so steep. It's not that big, probably a half mile around the outside, I would say. And you turn that thing in like 12.5 seconds or something like that, I think. And you never really slow down. So it's a fun place to run.
I'm going to throw another name out for you in regards to Eldora, Davey. 2001, historical big one, P.J. Chesson.
Yeah, well, PJ, I actually wasn't at that race. I built the motor, and I was in contact with him, but I didn't go. And they ran that race, and it got slick. And at that time, we could run any length, any size wicker bill from 1 to 3 inches. And he bolted on. He bolted on. That was 100,000 to win. He bolted on a 3-inch wicker bill in the back. They had a red or something. And I went out and beat him, and that's most money in any car I ever worked on ever won was 100,000.
And one of the things I'll remember about that night, Davey, was PJ spanked them, and they went back to the pits and just began partying.
Oh.
And then they left the speedway, went back to the hotel, and realized they left the money at the track. They never collected.
Yeah, well, PJ really didn't need the money. But, yeah, PJ liked to party, and so I guess I'm sure they went back and got the money, but I wasn't there, but I was, you know, talking to him before the race and after the race, so it was quite a victory, you know. It's amazing he went out there and won, and he just, you know, did things that the rest of them didn't do, and he was a hard driver. He won sometimes, or he wrecked, so, but just things worked our way, that's all.
You hit the nail on the head there, my friend. Chesson, one of those Chesson boys were either going to the front or they were going out over, one of the two.
Yeah.
They were hard chargers. Don Sr., let me get you back in here. You talked about doing a little bit of traveling when you were driving for Ken Bren. Was there a speedway in your career outside our general region that you really enjoyed racing, maybe out of state?
No, none in particular. I mean, I liked all the speedways, really. There was none in particular that I would say one was better than the other.
As long as you were strapped in a race car, you were a happy man, it sounds like.
That's about it. All right.
Yes, Lynn.
Donnie, I got a question for you. How about Lee Earnshaw? Did you race against Lee Earnshaw? Donnie, did you race against Lee?
Me?
Yeah. Get that mic here.
Sure, I race again.
Did you?
Yes.
What did you think of him as a driver?
Oh, he's okay.
Was he okay? He didn't create any problems for you, ever?
Not that I know of.
Hey, Lee,
I can't remember.
you're okay in his book. I just wanted to find out. Lee happened to come here to hear you guys today. Thank you, Lee.
Thanks for coming out, Lee. Had no idea he was back there. Oh, my goodness. Nothing is sacred, I'm telling you. All right, Donnie, let me jump back to you here. At some point, I don't know, 2000s, you decide you're going to cut back your racing schedule a bit. What figured into that decision?
A couple things, you know, mainly finances. Just thought about if we run, you know, if you have X amount of dollars, whatever it is, pick out a number, 50,000, and you run 50 races, you can spend $1,000 a race. And the costs were starting to escalate, and figured out if we'd run, you know, less races, we hadn't been winning near as much, and thought we needed to make a change and try running less races, and you know, instead of running used tires all the time, be able to put new ones on, keep the motors fresher, and it definitely was the right thing. Definitely was the right thing to do.
So you're taking more of a business approach to it. I mean, you're refining your business approach, I should say, to your racing at this point in time, it sounds like. So many guys, Donnie, when you talk about where to race, you mentioned Wayne's Grove, and they say, oh, it eats up your engines, it eats up your tires, it's so expensive. But you focus not primarily, well, primarily, not solely, but primarily on Wayne's Grove. Why was that?
Well, you know, it probably was the, I don't know what you'd say, not maybe best known track in our area. You know, they did have the National Open paid more. They had more World of Outlaw shows than any other track. So, you know, it was a place to run, and where, you know, they normally paid the most. It did cost a little bit more to run there, but they did have the best shows there in our area. And then, you know, we got to where we would run, you know, could run okay there, could run pretty good there. So we just kind of did. I didn't like it at first, but you know, we just did grow a liking to it, and got going there pretty good.
I'm glad you mentioned the financial end of things there. Justin Lowe, Williams Grove Speedway. For those of you that don't know Justin, he's the promoter, the manager there. He said to me once, he said, most of the guys out there have no idea what second place pays. He said, you go to Donny Kreitz, he will tell you what 12th place pays without referencing anything. Which I think, again, speaks to your business-like approach to what you're doing.
Honestly, it's just a matter of survival. You know, I wanted to race. I always wanted to race, and if you're running 50 races, you want to run 100. You know, if you're running 25, you want to run 50. And, you know, but you don't want to go there, you know, if you have any success at all, then you don't want to go there and just drive around and run 12, you know. So it was the only way we could, you know, we could do it, was to, you know, and it is the way my father taught me. You know, if things aren't going too well, you know, on that particular evening, and you are battling a guy for 12th, the only thing, the stupidest thing you can do at that point is trash a car over 12th place. You know, because maybe the next week we're going to have a chance to win. So, you know, you trash a car, you're sitting at home. And a lot of other guys, you know, aren't in that position. They have 3-4 cars, they don't have to worry about it. But that's just how it's always been for us, and we just had to do it out of survival to race, basically.
Donnie, I think one of the things that a lot of your fans, or just race fans in general, have admired about you over the years, aside from your accomplishments, is that you're just sort of a blue-collar, and I mean this in a complimentary fashion, blue-collar and no-nonsense kind of racer. Let's forget about all the frills and let's focus on the racing. You're a hauler. That's a little bit unique when compared to some of the other rigs that we see. What year is that? How long have you had it?
It's a 1991. We actually bought it just what they call cabin chassis, and it was just a cab and then just a frame basically. And you know, my father and myself, we extended the frame and you know, took some beams we had and welded them in and made it longer and designed the box and had Gold Rush trailers put the box on, and it just, you know, for us, the truck and a trailer like a lot of guys have nowadays, you know, those things are a couple $100,000. I mean,
Right.
I mean, no matter how you slice it, you know. And this way, you only had one. It was less maintenance. When you had a truck and trailer, you got truck brakes, you got trailer brakes, you got truck tires, you got trailer tires. There's always something you're working on instead of working on the race car. You're working on your rig all the time, you know. So it was a smart way to go for us, and it's worked out well.
Indeed it has. You talked about at no point in a career does a driver want to just show up and ride around. Latter part of your career, it's a bit of a resurgence for you. I mean, you had all that success. I mean, consistently you've been successful, but let's look at it, and you almost bookend your career. You had a lot in the beginning, I mean, heavy, and then things maybe evened out a little bit, and then you went out with a flourish. 2013, you had 7 wins, including a win the night before the National Open.
Yeah, we did good towards the end of our career. I, you know, really started focusing on taking care of myself a little bit better, you know, exercising, making sure you're in good shape, and you know, really concentrating on the car, and naturally with you know, Davey's help. I have a good group of guys helping me on the car right now, and have been for probably since, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s. So kind of have the same group of guys, and you know, Davey's been doing a good job just patching our stuff up all the time with our engines, you know, and what we have available to spend there. And the chassis, we've been getting them better. We're constantly, you know, it's evolving every week. You know, even this year with Lance, if we had 10 wins, I can't say that we had the exact same setup in, you know, for either one of the 10. And same when I was driving, we got on a pretty good roll there at Susquehanna, but we go there with the same base setup, but then adjust during the night. Almost every win there was a little bit of a different setup, so it's never just that easy that you can go back and do the same thing, you know, that the guys catch up, you know, and they beat you. You have to constantly keep trying to get better. So it's hard to do, and it takes a lot of work. And you know, me and Davey burn up the phone lines, and a lot of things we try that doesn't work. How about it, Davey? You know, people only remember the good time. You know, we go through, well, tried this on a frame, it didn't work, cut it apart, you know, weld something else on, try it. And you know, we do a lot of experimenting, and yet you have to, because we know the teams we're running against spend a lot more money than us, and racing, that's, you know, that's your friend. I mean, money's king. And so it's the only way we have, the only chance we have is to, I don't want to say outsmart them or outwork them, because everyone works hard and everyone's smart that's in racing, but you know, we just keep experimenting and trying to make the cars faster all the time.
2014, this close to the title of Williams Grove.
Yeah, that was a tough one. We ran into, I had a screw up there myself in I don't know, maybe August season, and we had a big point lead, and it jumped out of gear one night, and then we were running in the top 5, and we were running against Hodnett for the points, and he wasn't running good at all, and it turned the whole season around. We ended up dropping out, and then we dropped out, and he started running better, and he just beat us there towards the end of the year. It would have been nice to win that championship at the Grove. We were fast all year. We were good. We would start in the 10th, 11th, 12th spot and work our way into the top 3 or top 5 every night, and things were rolling really well. We should have won the championship, and we didn't, but we really should have.
Talk to us a little bit, Donnie, and to what degree you want to discuss this is entirely up to you, of course, but your decision, what was going on when you said, it's time to hang it up, I've got to step aside as a driver?
Well, it wasn't really mine, to be honest with you. It was the doctors, just said. I had no one locally had been going doctor to doctor, and I knew something was wrong, but didn't really know what. And they kept doing tests on me, and then finally I got going to Philadelphia and got in there and to a good concussion doctor, and as soon as he looked at, I had gotten an MRI, and as soon as he looked at that, he's like, "You're done racing." He said, it's just, and they don't know. The problem with concussions is they don't really know till they cut your head open after you die, till they do an autopsy. That's the only way they can really tell. They just, they guess, honestly, and that's why it's taken so long. And we've gone now to a couple times. We were just there last week for the second time out to Pittsburgh to the doctors where Earnhardt Jr.'s gone. A friend of mine, well, actually Dave Blaney, got me in there. He had trouble with concussions earlier this year, and they're really doing well. I mean, the doctor there actually said he thinks he can get me back 100%, and I could eventually race if I wanted to, but it's been too long out of the seat at this level. 410 racing in our area is too tough, and I'm still on the recovery path, so they think they can get me back, but they don't really know, but they are helping. So it's getting better. It's slow and it's frustrating, but it's just it's okay. It's not like I'm 30 and I only got to race 10 years or something. So it was winding down anyway, and I would have dabbled here and there. Probably would have ran the shows at Susquehanna because we ran well there, or call it between 5 and 10 times a year or something. Probably would have still screwed around like that. So it's okay because it was winding down anyway, and we can still, for now, operate a car. It's been fun with Davey and Lance. We've been very fortunate, this year to have such a good year. So if that wouldn't have went well, it would probably be a lot more frustrating. But I haven't really missed driving because I know I can't do it at this point. If I thought I was 100% and really sharp, then yeah, maybe I'd like to maybe get back in a car to practice at Susquehanna, take a couple laps, see what Davey's doing with the motors now, how it's running compared to when I did. Maybe jump in Cassidy's car, see what the 305 feels like, But we'll just take it one day at a time.
How is your mindset different on a Friday or Saturday going to the Speedway now as a car runner than it was as a driver?
In some ways, I'm more nervous and more tense, and in other ways it's more relaxing because you don't have to worry about driving. You do worry about Lance is such a capable driver that if we don't win, it's only because we screwed up, you know? It's usually not his fault, you know? So you really you don't want the car to, you know, to drop out. We did drop out of a couple races, you know? So you don't want anything to fall off the car, and you want it to be as good as it can be, because you know if it is, we're gonna have a good shot at winning. So, and it's nervous watching, more nerve-wracking, because you don't have the control of you did when you're driving, but it's a lot of fun, actually.
How about, and it's not like Cassidy just started racing yesterday, but she moves into the full-size cars this year, has a solid year. How about that as a dad? How does that impact you?
Yeah, that's not really that much fun. I don't know. It's a lot easier watching Lance run, but no, she's doing okay. You know, yeah, that's a lot more nerve-wracking, because it's probably more for me than anyone else, even my wife, because, you know, I know what can happen out on the track, and, you know, I see stuff happening before it happens, and like, oh, you know, and but it's okay, you know. I mean, that's good. She works hard at it, so you know, she's not getting in any trouble. So it's a fun thing to do. You know, if she's doing something else, call it whatever, soccer in school, I can't help her in soccer or basketball, but in racing, we can help a little bit with some advice. So it's probably the best thing she could do, and you know, it ends up being fun family time. So we have a good time with it.
Don, I'd say she's a quick study. For those of you that don't know, Cassidy competes with the Pennsylvania Sprint Series sprint cars. Those are the 305 power plants. It's a wonderful division, some great competition, a nice mix of seasoned drivers and a lot of strong up-and-comers. And this year at Susquehanna, we had the opportunity to see Cassidy take the checker flag for the first time in a B main when she drove past like 5 good cars. And I remember we were talking up in the booth, Don. We were watching her come off of 4, and she was so smooth. The car was straight, and we all said, "Gee, wonder where she learned that." But that had to be a thrill. That was exciting for us.
Yeah, she did really well. She drives smart. We know we need to race her more. When you start racing, you know, you need laps. You know, it's practice. You just need laps, you need races, and she's only gotten out a few times, so we have to try and squeeze it into the schedule. Some of it's all my fault, but because I'm not 100% yet and not doing that well, and it takes a lot of work even on her car. So to do, you know, have everything ready for Lance and then try and fill in a couple with Cassidy, we got to try and get her going a bunch more next year, and she'll be okay.
Indeed, she will. Well, we want to have a couple minutes here for questions. And when Don Senior's got to get on the road here, he's got that race to catch. So I want to ask each of you guys the same question. And Donnie, we'll start with you. When you look back over your career, what are you most proud of? Is there a particular race, or is there just something in general?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we got to be proud of the Kings Royal win, even though it was early in our career. You know, it was the second time I was ever at that track, and so that was good. And naturally our outlaw wins, and just being able to be, you know, competitive with the best guys, and you know, we always did it our way, and so. That's probably it.
I think that's a good synopsis. Don Senior, you look back over your career. What are you most proud of, sir?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. Proud of. I don't know. Probably finishes. I had a second in a 200 at any one time. Probably winning a race in Florida at the Daytona, the municipal stadium. I had Brent's car down there one year, and we won the last night, which paid $2,000, and that was the most I ever won in a midget, so I guess that had to be a pretty good deal.
I'd say that is a pretty good deal. Also, we want to throw this out there. If you look down the list of the Eastern States 200, which was at Orange County Fairgrounds Speedway, you look at top 5 finishers, 1976, 1977, you ran fifth in 76 and fourth in 77 in those events, and that's a nice
I won a
accomplishment
50
there.
lap there one night too.
See, the more you think about it, the more you got to be proud of.
They had twin 50s, I won the first 50, the second 50, Gary Blue put me on my head.
Oh my God. Davey, I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to ask you a different question. You've been at this, I think, what, 63 years, I believe we calculated.
Yeah.
You've been successful from the beginning, and you remain successful. In a sport that is dominated by younger men, how do you remain relevant and on top of your game like this?
Well, I don't know, the sport does keep changing, but you just concentrate on it and try to keep up with the newest stuff, or we actually, right now, we really don't do what everybody else does. We usually try to come up with something different, and they usually end up copying us, so. But, I probably only got another year or two at the most to work on it, so. Just because that's the main thing we've done over the years, you just keep up with it.
It's got to make you feel pretty good. I mean, in all honesty, you're like a celebrity in these parts now. You go to speedways in Victory Lane, guys were cheering for Donnie, they were cheering for Lance, but they're yelling your name now. Davey, and they love you. That's got to make you feel pretty good.
Well, yeah, it does. I think it's mainly just because I'm old. But we have a lot of great fans. A lot of come around our car there. Donnie has a lot of fans. Lance has a lot of fans. So it's working out very well.
All right. It's 2:53. We got 7 minutes, and Donny Kreitz Sr.'s out the door. So questions?
Yeah.
What you got, Lynn?
Donnie, how much of a pep talk did you ever get out of Davey before you started driving?
Yeah, he don't say too much. one time, and I kind of forgot that I told him this. We were at Susquehanna, and I don't even know why I said this at the beginning of the night, and I don't know, we might have been in a little slump or something, and I said, I'd really like to win tonight. You might need to get me cranked up a little bit, maybe, talk a little ugly to me or something, make me mad before the feature, right? And I forgot that I told him that, and I was working on the car during the night, and between the heat and the feature, and he's like, I don't even know what you were doing out there in the heat race. You're jerking around, these other guys are running, and you're off the gas, and I forgot, that I told him to do that, and he did, and ended up going out and winning the feature then, so it's probably the only time. He usually don't say anything. I mean, he lets you know if you screw up or not, but...
What was this? I know I got one talk. Never, you did a good job, because I tried to take a lead and I stuffed it in the cushion, stuffed it in the wall, come back to the pits, and he said, that was dumb. That was it. Did you ever get that was dumb?
Yeah, I kind of the same thing. Yeah, either he'll let you know, hey, we should have won that race, and if we didn't or not, and but that's okay, because we're honest with each other, and everyone's accountable, and Davey is too to himself. He'll say, you know what, we just missed it tonight, or we should have, I should have done this or that. So everyone's accountable on our team, and it's a lot of fun. We get along good.
All right. Yes.
question for Donnie. Like Williams Grove, is the track preparation any different for an outlaw show than is a regular weekly show? I mean, I heard rumors that, you know, when the outlaws come in, they want the track their way and so and so.
Usually not. Now, the only thing I heard this last, and it was right from the guy that does the track for the National Open this year, that the Outlaws wanted the track wetter, and it was for the National Open. But normally, it's just circumstances. It's just, there's more cars there. They have time trials. Usually there's 4 to 5 sets of hot laps versus 2 to 3 in a local show. And then there's 4 or 5 heat races versus 2 or 3 in a local show. There's just more racing on the track. So it ends up getting wider and slicker usually in the outlaw shows, which usually is good for us, you know. So we don't normally complain about it.
All right, anyone else? Yes, Ed.
Does Mr. Brown know how many wins he has all the time being on the
No.
ranches? Hundreds, thousands?
I don't know, they said Steve won over 1,000, I have no idea whether that's even close to being right or not. So I never kept track.
Don, while we got a second, you've got a couple things happening at the shop that are upcoming. You want to hit those real quick? Just let folks know what you got going on.
Yeah, we have next Saturday, well, this coming Saturday, 2 days after Thanksgiving, our annual flea market there, where we get thousands of people there and, you know, guys selling stuff. So we get a good crowd for that. Anyone's welcome that wants to come out. And I think they're going to have their giveaway car here from EMMR. They're going to have down there selling chances on that. So that's usually a good time with, you know, not much of any racing going on.
How's the, you got a sprint car chassis seminar coming up, right? Next month, or excuse me, January.
Yeah,
So-
January 7th, we have a sprint car chassis seminar that we do every year to, you know, kind of educate guys, new guys and experienced guys come, you know, to learn about different things on setting up a sprint car. So that's usually a good time also.
All right, I saw a hand over here. Yes, sir.
Did you ever prefer one brand of chassis over another? Think there's one that's better than the rest? At any time?
They use, I don't know, it seems to vary. You know, we've been on Maxims now for about 10 years. Seems to work good for us. I mean, we've had success with different things throughout our career. Avengers at one time, Schnees at one time. You know, right now it seems to be Maxims. I don't know why it changes over time, but you know, that's what seems to be working well now.
All right, anybody else? We got time for like one
Yeah,
more.
senior, was that, what year value was that? Did you have 65 or?
I don't know, they made them, I think, in the early 60s, maybe from 60 to 64 or something like that, 63, 62.
Oh, yeah.
Microphone.
Oh,
That's fine, I heard you.
Yeah, but they,
sorry about that.
Hey, Bob Schultz. You're a Mopar guy, right?
64 was the last value.
Thank you, sir. 64 was the last year.
Go ahead.
Don, you remember the night at Susquehanna when somebody back here screwed up the racetrack and you had a race with Raymer on a real rough racetrack?
Yeah, that was a good show. He was asking about Susquehanna one night. That was in the early
who
90s.
screwed the track up?
I guess Alan did.
Alan Kreitz? I just wanted to get that in there.
I like Raymer better.
Yeah, that's because he don't bitch about a rough track. Yeah, that was a good race that night. The track was a little rough, and me and Raymer were swapping the lead back and forth, and finally beat him on a rough track, which was unusual, but it was good. Susquehanna has always been known for, you know, having really good racing.
All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate it. Donny Kreitz Sr., Jr., Davey Brown. And before we get you out of here, Donnie, we're gonna, not like you haven't done this before, if you draw our 50-50 here this afternoon. All right, get your 50-50 tickets out. Winning number, 653690, $145. 653690. Anybody?
Anybody want to buy some tickets for $1?
653690. Anybody? Gotta be somebody.
We'll just hold it for a while.
All right.
We'll hold it for about 10 minutes.
How about a round of applause for these gentlemen before they get out?
Hey, Davey, you know, when you and Mackerson were hot in the 50s, right? It's kind of neat, though, the guy that used to beat your rear end pretty regular, George Speck, is here. I think that's really neat. George is 90 a few years. Where are you, George? It's here somewhere. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Guy was a big winner in the 50s, and he's still up here looking things over. That's neat.
Remarkable, yeah, George Speck was, he was a good racer, and he beat us. We beat him, he beat us, but he was a good racer, he was a clean racer, never hit anybody, and he didn't have to worry about running close to finish.
By the way, Gettle's back here. He just found some old bills. You owe him some money.
Probably.
Thank you.
Before you get out of here,